On a chilly morning, as swirling snowflakes danced in the air, a little kitten named Luna found herself alone at a Siberian zoo. Just a week old, she had been abandoned by her mother, leaving her vulnerable without milk or warmth. Amidst the howling wind, her faint chirps were a desperate cry for help. The zoo staff did everything they could to save her, but hope was fading just as quickly as her tiny sounds grew weaker. Then, Victoria, a dedicated animal rescuer, appeared with her loyal Rottweiler, Benza. Together, they rescued Luna from near certain death and brought her into a warm sanctuary filled with love and care. What started as a struggle for survival soon blossomed into a remarkable friendship. Luna learned to trust Benza, her gentle giant, and the bond they formed resonated through the icy Siberian landscape. As we continue with Luna's story, imagine the heavy silence of the winter surrounding the zoo, a blanket of white, permeated only by the crunching snow beneath boots and the distant calls of the wild. Inside the clinic, a different kind of quiet hung in the air, thick with anxiety. There lay Luna, a fragile, spotted kitten nestled in an incubator, no bigger than a human palm. Her soft fur was a stark contrast to her sealed eyes, which had already faced the harsh rejection of the world. Just a week earlier, Luna had been a source of pride for the zookeepers, a sign of success in their breeding efforts. Yet her mother, a magnificent wildcat named Zoya, had turned away from her without explanation. There were no signs of illness or weakness. Zoya simply nudged her away, leaving Luna to face the unforgiving cold alone. With no mother's milk to sustain her, Luna's fragile life flickered like a candle in a gusty wind. The staff tried various methods to save her, from scent masking to force feeding, but her tiny body continued to weaken, her chirps growing fainter and more heart-wrenching. It was in this atmosphere of deep concern that Victoria walked in. Her weathered face bore the marks of someone who had spent many days outdoors rather than sheltered inside. Although she wasn't a veterinarian by training, her reputation as an animal savior was well known. Victoria had an almost instinctive understanding of animals, a talent that seemed almost magical. Victoria cared for a variety of animals at her remote home, a place that served as a refuge for creatures caught between the wild and human society. She had raised everything from orphaned bear cubs to injured owls. However, when the zoo director, Dmitry, reached out to her, it was a situation of urgency. "She won't last the night, Vikika," Dmitry said quietly, pointing to the incubator. "We've done all we can. She's too weak to take the formula, and her temperature keeps dropping." As Victoria looked through the glass, her heart softened. The kitten inside was a remarkable sight, with oversized paws, tufted ears, and faint spots across her coat. Instead of seeing a failing creature, she noticed a tiny flicker of determination in the kitten's rhythmic breathing. An empathetic pull emerged within her, one that had often guided her choices. "What's her name?" Victoria inquired gently. "We haven't named her yet. It felt too unfortunate," Dmitry replied. But Victoria didn't need more convincing. She decided right then and there. Raising a wild cat, especially one as fragile as this, is a huge responsibility, she thought. It would demand all her attention, transforming her home into a nursery that focused on feeding schedules and monitoring temperatures. Yet, looking at the little kitten, Victoria felt she had to act. "I'll take her," she declared, surprised by the mix of determination and recklessness in her voice. "Her name is Luna." The name reminded her of the moon, a solitary light shining in the dark. The drive back home was tense. Luna rested in a fleece-lined box on the passenger seat of Victoria's sturdy UAZ Patriot, kept warm by a hot water bottle. Every bump in the snowy road heightened Victoria's anxiety. She drove carefully, keeping a watchful eye on the challenging path ahead and her fragile passenger beside her. Victoria's homestead was a cozy blend of wood and stone, nestled deep within a birch forest. The air was filled with the scent of pine smoke, drying herbs, and the earthy aroma of animals. Her only other companion was Benza, a 5-year-old Rottweiler with a solid build and kind, warm eyes. Benza was also a rescue, having been found in poor condition and nursed back to health by Victoria. In return, the dog offered her loyalty and devotion. As Victoria opened the door, Benza greeted her with a wagging tail, embodying the reunion of two souls who understood the strength of companionship. The steady thump of paws against the doorframe signaled excitement. Luna, a tiny kitten, sniffed the air with her brow furrowed in curiosity as Victoria brought a box inside. "Easy, girl," Victoria said softly, placing the box down near the warm stone fireplace. "We have a guest, a very, very small one." The first couple of days were overwhelming, filled with worry and exhaustion. Luna was barely hanging on, her small body felt cold, and she didn't have the strength to nurse even from a syringe. In that moment, Victoria took on the role of a human incubator, cradling the delicate kitten against her skin for hours, using her own body heat to keep Luna alive. She worked tirelessly, mixing a special formula made of kitten replacer, raw goat's milk, and a blend of vitamins and probiotics. Feeding Luna was a challenging task. Victoria had to be patient, carefully squeezing a small drop of the nourishing liquid onto the kitten's gums, hoping for even the slightest response. Most of it dribbled down Luna's chin, but occasionally a tiny amount would make its way in. Each drop felt like a victory, however small. Victoria found herself sleeping in short bursts on a cot next to the fireplace, her ears alert to any sounds from Luna's little nest. Everything outside her cabin faded away. The snow could fall, and the winds could howl. All that mattered was the fragile life within a few square feet. Meanwhile, Benza, the big Rottweiler, seemed to sense the gravity of the situation. Normally full of energy, she transformed into a quiet, watchful protector, lying near the hearth and keeping her gaze fixed on the tiny kitten. Though she kept her distance, her presence brought a comforting calmness to the room. By the third day, something began to change. As Victoria held the syringe to Luna's mouth, she felt a weak pull. The kitten was attempting to suckle. Tears filled Victoria's eyes. This tiny milestone, though seemingly insignificant, felt monumental in that moment. From there, things slowly improved. The following weeks became a demanding but fulfilling routine. Every 2 hours, day or night, Victoria would wake up to feed Luna. As time passed, Luna's appetite grew. What began as hesitant suckling soon transformed into a vigorous, demanding feast. And gradually, she started to gain weight, her once sharp and fragile form softening with each passing day. The delightful roundness of a healthy kitten captures your attention right away. As Luna's fur transformed from dull and lifeless to a vibrant, shiny coat, you could see the positive changes happening. Victoria carefully tracked every ounce of weight gain and each drop of formula Luna consumed, gradually learning to understand her kitten's cues. Luna communicated with soft, bird-like chirps when she was hungry and produced a comforting, rumbling purr that sounded almost like a tiny engine when she felt content. When Luna's eyes opened for the first time, they were a striking, luminous blue, reminiscent of a twilight sky. Initially unfocused, her gaze quickly sharpened, eagerly following Victoria's movements with an intelligent curiosity that seemed to grow stronger each day. As Luna gained strength, her true feline nature began to shine through. Her playtime was far from gentle. It was like training for a life filled with hunting. She would hide behind furniture, poised to launch an enthusiastic, though clumsy attack on Victoria's bare feet. Dust bunnies became her prey, as did stray socks. With the determination of a seasoned climber, she tackled the back of the worn leather armchair. Victoria, with endless patience, nurtured these instincts. She provided a variety of toys, like feathered wands and furry mice, and engaged Luna in playful games of chase. These activities not only taught Luna how to act like a cat, but also how to adapt to a human household. To everyone's surprise, litter training became an effortless task, as Luna embraced the idea of cleanliness. She even learned to retract her claws during gentle play, an important lesson for peaceful cohabitation. The cabin transformed into Luna's personal kingdom. She explored every corner, her endless energy creating both joy and a bit of chaos. Luna found excitement in unspooling an entire roll of toilet paper, fascination in watching water drip from the faucet, and ultimate comfort in napping in a sunbeam on a pile of Victoria's freshly laundered clothes. Meanwhile, Benza remained a patient observer. The Rottweiler watched Luna's playful antics with a tolerant, almost maternal demeanor. When Luna decided to execute a surprise attack on Benza's twitching tail, the dog simply lifted her head, let out a heavy sigh, and rested it back on her paws, a clear sign of her acceptance. One afternoon, as a soft winter sun streamed through the window, Victoria witnessed a true connection forming between the two. Luna, having worn herself out from an energetic episode of curtain climbing, settled down beside Benza, creating a peaceful moment that spoke volumes about their budding friendship. Climbing padded over to where Benza, the Rottweiler, was peacefully napping by the fire. With a soft chirp, she gently touched the dog's large side with her little paw. Benza stirred awake and gazed down at the small cat. In a surprisingly tender manner, given her size, the dog licked the top of Luna's head with her broad pink tongue. The affectionate gesture was so overwhelming that it sent Luna tumbling back a bit. Not one to be disheartened, Luna quickly righted herself, shook off the surprise, and nestled against Benza's warm, solid belly, purring softly as if she were a tiny chainsaw. From that moment on, the invisible barrier between them was gone. As winter deepened, covering the Siberian landscape in a thick, pristine layer of snow, Luna experienced her first encounter with the white blanket. Victoria opened the cabin door, and the now lanky adolescent cat peeked out with wide, curious eyes. The sharp, clean air seemed to recharge her spirit. Hesitating for just a moment, she took her first careful step onto the porch, leaving tiny star-like prints in the untouched snow. Then, something shifted. An instinct awoke within her, filled with pure joy. She leaped from the porch and dove into a nearby snowdrift, causing a small cloud of white crystals to explode into the air. Almost instantly, her head emerged, her face dusted with snow and ears alert. With powerful bounds, she sprang through the deep snow, chasing snowflakes, pouncing on imaginary creatures hidden beneath the surface, and rolling joyfully in the soft powder. In that moment, she embodied both an oversized house cat and a miniature leopard, a delightful blend of domestic charm and wild spirit. Benza, ever the watchful protector, stood on the porch with a few slow and thoughtful wags of her tail, taking in the joyous scene. When Victoria called for their daily walk, a new relationship unfolded. Luna, instead of lagging behind or being carried, confidently trotted alongside the big dog. Their path took them into the birch forest, a serene space of black trunks and white snow. The cold air was biting, and their breath formed fluffy white clouds as they moved. As they ventured deeper into the woods, Luna moved with an elegance that captured the eye. She felt at home among the trees, her spotted coat perfectly blending in with the dappled light filtering through the branches. Darting ahead, she would leap onto low-hanging branches before gracefully springing back to the ground, fully immersed in the wonder of her surroundings. As Luna and Benza roamed the wilderness, they developed a unique partnership. Benza, with her sharp sense of smell, would often stop to investigate the ground, searching for the scent of a vole or a snowshoe hare. Meanwhile, Luna, blessed with keen eyesight, would keep watch for squirrels or grouse in the trees above. Together, they formed a predator duo, creating a remarkable friendship in the heart of the Siberian wilderness. Over time, Luna's baby blue eyes slowly transformed into a striking golden green, reminiscent of sunlight filtering through moss. This change was beautiful, but also served as a reminder for Victoria that Luna was not just a pet, she was a wild creature. Her instincts, while softened by her upbringing, were always present. Luna's mischievous side occasionally led to trouble. There were moments when she would chew on the legs of an old wooden table or create a flurry of feathers by shredding a down-filled cushion. Perhaps the most alarming incident was when Luna managed to climb onto the roof and refused to come down for hours. Each situation required Victoria's patience, a reinforcement of boundaries, and a deep understanding of Luna's nature. Victoria understood her role. She was not Luna's owner, but rather her caretaker and guardian, a steady presence in Luna's hybrid life. To ensure their safety, she introduced structured training using positive reinforcement techniques to teach commands like down and gentle. Despite the challenges, the bond between Luna and Benza continued to grow, and they were rarely far apart. Their daily routines were filled with shared moments. Each morning, Luna would greet Benza by rubbing her face against the dog's muzzle, a sign of affection and family. They would curl up together for afternoon naps, forming a yin-yang of black and spotted fur. In the evenings, Luna would gently nibble at the fur between Benza's powerful paws, while Benza meticulously groomed Luna's ears. One early spring evening, as the snow began to melt and the ground was muddy with decaying leaves, their relationship faced a new test. A foreign scent filled the damp air, one that was instinctively alarming. It was the odor of a large male brown bear, just awakening from hibernation and in search of food. Benza noticed it first. Her body stiffened, and a low growl rumbled deep in her chest. The tension hung in the air as both animals sensed the impending danger. Luna felt a shift in the atmosphere, picking up on the warning signals from Benza, the Rottweiler. Flattening herself against the ground, her ears back and golden-green eyes wide, she scanned the thicket of trees bordering the clearing. Just then, urgency gripped Victoria as she called out, "Benza, Luna, inside now!" Her tone was stern, a sound none had heard before. Unfortunately, it was too late. A large, shaggy bear pushed through the underbrush, its massive body moving with undeniable strength. The bear looked thin from its long hibernation, but its small, intelligent eyes were assessing its surroundings. It wasn't seeking confrontation. It was searching for food, drawn in by the scent of raw meat Victoria had stored for Luna. Fear pierced through Victoria. She recognized the threat. A hungry bear was unpredictable, and its power could be deadly. Backing slowly toward the cabin door, her mind raced with possible actions. In contrast, Benza stood her ground. She planted her feet firmly, forming a solid barrier between the bear and her family. There was no barking or rushing. Her growl rolled like distant thunder, a warning that promised force if necessary. Here was a dog weighing 120 pounds facing off with a 700-pound predator, a true act of loyalty. The bear exhaled loudly, its breath echoing through the air as it took a lumbering step forward. Rising slightly on its hind legs, it displayed its dominance. But then something remarkable happened. From the side, a flash of spotted fur zipped past Victoria. It was Luna, who surprisingly did not dash for safety. Instead, she launched herself up the trunk of the massive pine next to the cabin, her movements instinctual and swift. Within moments, she was 20 feet up, clinging to the rough bark. From her elevated position, a sound escaped her that Victoria had never heard before. It wasn't a typical meow or chirp. It was a chilling, guttural shriek, a piercing scream that resonated through the stillness of the forest. This strange sound, a natural alarm of distress, caught the bear's attention. Initially focused on the imposing Rottweiler, the bear became startled and confused by the unexpected cry from above. It flinched, its head snapping up to find the source of the noise. Spotting the cat high in the tree, a creature beyond its reach, the bear hesitated as the unsettling sound continued, sharp and relentless. The scene unfolded with a frantic cat perched in a tree, its cries echoing, while a vigilant dog stood its ground below, growling softly. This created an intense atmosphere, making any chance of an easy meal seem complicated and fraught with risks. The bear, sensing the tension, hesitated, swaying its large head as it assessed the situation. It glanced from Benza, the dog, to Luna, the cat, and back again. After a frustrated huff, the bear decided to retreat, slowly backing away before disappearing into the dense woods, leaving silence in its wake. Victoria found herself leaning against the cabin wall, her legs feeling weak beneath her. Her breath came in quick bursts as the growl from Benza reduced to a low whine, yet the dog remained alert, eyes fixed on the last spot where the bear had vanished. High above, Luna's screams fell silent. She descended the tree carefully and landed softly on the ground, making her way directly to Benza. The cat rubbed against the dog's legs, a frantic sign of reassurance. Benza responded with affection, licking Luna's face while her tail thumped warily against the ground. Victoria, still catching her breath, slid down the wall to sit on the damp earth. Her heart raced as she called out to them, her voice shaking. "Come here, my brave, foolish girls." They approached, two furry heroes, crowding around her. Benza rested her hefty head in Victoria's lap, while Luna climbed onto her shoulders, purring loudly. Wrapping her arms around both of them, Victoria buried her face in Benza's thick fur, reaching up to stroke Luna's soft coat. In that moment, they were a pack. A strange but beautiful mix of a dog willing to stand up to a bear and a cat that would rally for her friend. All the sleepless nights, the torn cushions, and the doubts melted away into a single profound feeling: love. This love transcended boundaries, created through vulnerability and fortified by bravery. Once an orphan cat on the brink of survival, Luna now embodied strength and confidence, blending wild instincts with a homegrown affection. She occupied a unique space between the world crafted by the love of a kind woman and the loyal friendship of her gentle protector, a dog. Looking ahead, it was clear challenges would continue to arise. Luna remained a wild creature at heart. The forest surrounding their home held its share of dangers and attractions. However, Victoria felt confident that they would navigate it together. Later that evening, she noticed Luna and Benza cozied up beside the fire, their breathing in sync and calm. In that moment, Victoria realized that she had accomplished more than merely saving a life. She had fostered a family, one that was unique, unconventional, and wonderfully complete. This experience exemplifies a powerful truth. The strongest connections between beings aren't limited by bloodlines or species. They are forged through trust, courage, and a love that transcends all boundaries. The little cat, once left to fend for herself in the cold, now enjoyed the warmth of a fire, the loyalty of a dog, and the limitless affection from a human who had chosen to name her after the moon. Isn't it fascinating how love can bridge so many differences and bring together the most unlikely of friends?